Have you ever wondered where the biblical creation story came from? Most people assume Genesis is the oldest account of creation. But what if I told you there is an even older civilization, the Babylonians, who had a strikingly similar yet different story? In today's video, we are going to be diving deep into the Babylonian creation myth and compare it to the Genesis one. We are going to be exploring the origins, the gods, and the purpose of human creation. So let's dive in and find out. So the Babylonian existed as a major civilization from 1894 CE to about 539 BCE. Their creation myth is recorded in various texts, but the most important one is Enuma Elish, also called the Seven Tablets of Creation. Now, the Enuma Elish was written around 1200 BCE or even earlier, and it is roughly estimated to be about 3200 to 3800 years old. Now, the Enuma Elish originated from even older stories from older civilizations such as the Sumerian and the Akkadian traditions over 4,000 years ago. And here is how their story unfolds. In the beginning, there was only primordial waters, undifferentiated waters swirling in chaos. Then it was divided into two: fresh water, Apsu; salty water, Tiamat. These waters intermingled and gave birth to the first gods. Now, these younger gods were lively and cheerful and very noisy, to the point that it made Apsu very angry. Apsu decided to kill him. Tiamat found out and went and warned the younger gods, specifically her eldest son Enki, about Apsu's plan. On Enki hearing Apsu's plan, went and put Apsu into sleep and then killed him. From his remains, he created his home. Now, Tiamat was very angry about this, and she went to seek advice from Kingu, who advised her to go and make war with the younger gods. Tiamat gifted him tablets of destiny, which legitimizes the rule of a god and controls the fates. And she got to create 11 monsters to help her wage the war against the younger gods. Enki and the younger gods go to war against Tiamat, and they are losing, and they are afraid they're not going to win the battle. But there is one god called Marduk who stands out and says that he will be the one who will kill Tiamat. And indeed, he does kill Tiamat by shooting her with an arrow which splits her into two. And then out of Tiamat's corpse, Marduk created the heaven and earth and appointed gods to various parts and bound the 11 monsters to his feet as trophies. So after creation was complete, the gods realized that they needed servants to do the handiwork, to do the hard work, and Marduk and Enki create humans by mixing the blood of Kingu, god Kingu, with clay. And this is how the first human is created, Lulu, to be a helper to the gods, to build temples and offer sacrifices, and to also help maintain order. Now let's look at Genesis 1 and 2, which was written much later, probably between 1000 to 500 BCE, long after the Babylonian account story. Genesis 1, we have how the earth is created, the whole order. And then Genesis 2, we have again Adam and Eve being created. So what are the similarities that we find in this story? Now, in both stories, water is the original state of existence before creation. Babylonian, we have undifferentiated waters swirling in chaos. And then in Genesis, we have that the spirit of God hovered over the deep waters. Now, that is the first similarity that we find. The second similarity is that there is a supreme creator who establishes order. Now, in the Babylonian creation account, we find that this is Marduk. Marduk, the one who kills Tiamat. Marduk is the one who brings order from chaos, according to the Babylonian creation story. In Genesis, it is God who speaks the universe into order from chaos. Now, the other similarity we find is that human beings are created from earthly matter. The Babylonian, we find that the humans are made from clay, which is mixed with Kingu's blood, divine blood. And in Genesis, we find that humans are made from dust and brought to life by God's breath. The other similarities is the purpose of humanity. In the Babylonian creation story, the purpose of humans is to help the gods maintain order, offer sacrifices, and build temples, is to serve the gods. And then we find in the Genesis creation account story, the purpose of human creation is to take care of God's creation, subdue the earth, dominate it, and dominate and subdue the earth. These are the similarities that we find in the Babylonian creation account story and the Genesis creation account story. So now, what are the differences that we find in these two stories? Now, first difference is that in the Babylonian creation story, we have multiple gods. I did not name all of them. There are so many. I only focused on Apsu, Tiamat, Enki, and Marduk. But there are so many other gods when you read the other stories further and further. But in Genesis, we only find there is one God who creates everything. Two, the other difference we find in these two stories is that the creation account story of the Babylonian story is created out of battle. There is a battle that happens for the creation of heaven and earth to happen. And as you have read, earth and heaven is created out of Tiamat's body. Don't forget, Tiamat was the salty water that was split into two by Marduk, and then he created the heavens and the earth. Now, because of this battle that ensued, that is how humanity is created. That is how creation happens. But in the Genesis creation story, we see that the creation just happens by word of God. God commands things to happen, and things just happen. So this is a very big difference between the two stories. The other difference we find is the role of women. Now, in Babylonian, it does not emphasize gender roles in creation. It just says Lulu, the first human, was made. We don't know if Lulu was male or female. Nobody cares. Just creation was just made. Nobody cares to differentiate them. So Genesis, we see that it highlights Eve's creation from Adam. This is in Genesis 2, which contradicts itself from Genesis 1. If you have read the two stories, there's a very big contradiction, and we always have to ask the question, why do we have two creation account stories in Genesis? Now, from this second creation account story in Genesis, this is where this is what became the foundation for patriarchal beliefs that we still hold on to today. So what does this whole story then mean? What does this whole thing mean then? So many scholars believe that Genesis is heavily influenced by older Mesopotamian stories and reshaped it, and was reshaped to fit the Hebrew belief system. So these guys, as you will later find out in a video that I'm doing very soon, the origin of the Bible, you will come and find out that the Bible is just a collection of stories from older ancient civilizations, such as the Sumerian. I've just done the Babylonian, and a mixture of other things. And then it is reshaped to fit the Hebrew narrative or the Hebrew belief system at that time. So we also so then we have to wonder if Genesis is a rework of older myths. Should we really take it literally, or should it just be used as a metaphor? It's just a story that it's just a it's just that this person was able to take all these different creation stories, different creation stories, and was able to make them into one creation story. Something else that we notice in the Babylonian creation myth story is that the Babylonian gods are seen as powerful but flawed beings, and you have to wonder, these people, because these people have human. When you read the seven tablets of creation, the Enuma Elish, you realize that these people have human characteristics. For example, the war that happens during creation, although it is metaphorical, um, we find that they keep on insisting that the gods have the same characteristics as human beings, but for some reasons this civilization, the people who these gods um were more civilized or better educated. What can I say? So we always have to ask the question, who are these gods that the tablets talk about? Who are these gods that the tablets talk about that walked amongst man once? Were they ancient rulers? Were they deities? Were they really gods, or were they aliens? Were they extraterrestrials, just another civilization from another star system? At the end of the day, we have to understand that myths shape how we understand our place in the universe. And whether you believe in the Bible or ancient Babylonian gods or something else entirely, one thing is very clear, is that our ancestors were searching for meaning just like we are today. So guys, tell me in the comments below, what do you guys think? Did Genesis copy the Babylonian creation account story, or is it actually a book written by people inspired by God? Comment. I'd love to hear your take on this. Have a lovely day, guys. Bye bye.